And police were called to a darts championship in Melbourne overnight after chaos broke out in the crowd.
What makes a peaceful crowd suddenly turn into a frenzy? Is it the alcohol, the energy, or something buried deeper in group psychology? You've seen wild sports fans, but nothing quite like this. Smoke bombs, folding chairs flying, wrestling moves straight from the WWE, and all of it at a darts tournament. This is the unbelievable true story of how a simple exhibition match in Australia turned into a full-blown riot, one that shocked even the players. And it all started with just one small spark. 2013 was a turning point for darts in Australia. That year, Sydney's iconic Luna Park hosted its first World Series of Darts event, signalling a new era for the sport down under. Major names from the Professional Darts Corporation, most notably local heroes Simon Whitlock and Paul Nicholson, lined up against the top oceanic players who had yet to join the global circuit. For fans, it was a chance to witness elite darts without crossing continents. But before that marquee event even began, Whitlock and Nicholson had already ignited a spark. 2 weeks earlier, they took part in the Melbourne Darts Invitational Challenge, an exhibition set inside the Victory Room of Etihad Stadium. The venue wasn't massive, but the energy was. A sellout crowd of just over 1,000 filled the modest room, hungry for darts in person. This event was more than a warm-up, it was a sign. At the time, darts was rapidly gaining visibility on Australian television. More viewers were tuning in, more names were becoming familiar, and that local exhibition caught fire at the perfect moment. It offered fans something tangible, something live, and something that hinted at a much bigger future. Whitlock and Nicholson squared off against local contenders before facing each other in a headline matchup. The response was electric. The sellout crowd and growing TV audience showed organisers that Australian fans weren't merely curious. They were ready to embrace the sport in full force. The demand was clear, and it wouldn't take long before organisers responded with something even bolder. By 2014, the Melbourne event outgrew its humble beginnings. It moved from the Victory Room to the stadium's main arena, and over 8,000 fans packed in. What was once a niche gathering had transformed into a high-energy spectacle. Televised darts had caught on, and now it was riding a wave of momentum. The lineup reflected the shift. Alongside Whitlock and Nicholson, global stars Michael Van Gerwen and Andy Hamilton joined the roster. The event's new early January timing meant it marked the players' first appearances since the World Championships, heightening excitement even further. Van Gerwen, fresh off his first World Championship win, embraced the occasion. His entrance was pure showmanship, rolling in atop a vehicle, world trophy in hand, commanding attention from the moment he arrived. His game backed it up. He would go on to defeat Whitlock in the final. But his brilliance wasn't the only thing people were talking about. The crowd added a layer of chaos and colour. Orange and purple smoke bombs burst into the air. Thousands of fans hoisted chairs above their heads, chanting in unison, "Chairs up if you love the darts!" The enthusiasm was infectious, loud, wild, and almost uncontainable. Despite the rowdy energy, incidents were surprisingly limited. 8 people were ejected on the first night and just a few more on the second, mostly in the event's final half hour. There were no arrests. On paper, the event was a triumph. Crowds, stars, spectacle. Plans were immediately set for a return the next year, expanding into a 2-day darting festival inside the same arena. But in 2015, that crowd energy would take a darker turn. The January 2015 Melbourne Darts Invitational brought back Simon Whitlock and Michael Van Gerwen, and welcomed newcomers Raymond van Barneveld and James Wade. With its expanded 2-day format and rising profile, the event had evolved into a major entertainment spectacle. Following 2014's rowdy scenes, organisers introduced new control measures. An alcohol management plan was enforced. Only mid-strength beer was available throughout the venue. Security presence increased, and behavioural rules were clearly posted. Still, crowd energy stayed unpredictable. Night 1 passed smoothly, but Night 2 unravelled just before the final match. The shift in atmosphere was sudden but visible. Groups in the crowd began showing signs of restlessness, with loud chanting and aggressive behaviour rippling through sections of the arena. Instead of settling, the energy escalated. fans no longer focused on the sport. Tension built as more people joined in, creating a charged, unstable environment. No technical glitches or player delays triggered it, just the crowd pushing boundaries unchecked. This wasn't a single flashpoint, but a slow brewing collapse of order. Security and staff observed from the edges, waiting for the moment to pass. It didn't. The shift had already taken hold. At 8:45 p.m., the crowd's energy turned physical. About 50 fans began stacking chairs, tables, and plastic cups into a large pile, roughly 5 meters wide and 5 meters deep. What started as scattered movement became a central attraction. MC John McDonald took the mic, trying to calm the crowd, but momentum had taken over. Furniture continued to stack. Fans tossed chairs mid-walk-on, even as players appeared on stage. Some fans began play fighting, slamming each other into the pile like stunt performers. Others mimicked wrestling moves, especially Randy Orton's RKO. Plastic tables bent and snapped. Wooden trestles cracked and split apart. Security moved in, but many staff members were young and unprepared. Their inexperience showed. With little resistance, the spectacle grew. Players exited the stage. The final was postponed. House lights came on in an attempt to disrupt the atmosphere. John McDonald kept apologizing, pleading for calm, but few listened. The event had tipped beyond recovery. What followed forced organizers to confront a difficult truth about the event's future. Around 9 p.m., with the situation escalating beyond the control of private security, Victoria Police were officially called to intervene. The urgency was clear. The event had transitioned from disorder to a public safety risk. Within minutes, around 40 officers arrived on site, equipped with standard riot response gear, including pepper spray and firearms. Their arrival marked a decisive shift in authority within the venue. The chaotic energy that had gripped the crowd began to subside. Their presence alone caused hesitation among some participants, while others attempted to blend back into the audience. Police moved in systematically, establishing a perimeter around the central pile of damaged furniture and containing further escalation. Officers issued verbal commands while staff members coordinated with security to assist in identifying aggressors. Interestingly, not all attendees were set on prolonging the disruption. Some fans began removing chairs from the pile, placing them back into position, and sitting down in hopes that the final match could still be played. A collective desire to return to normalcy slowly emerged, though it was layered beneath the tension still hanging in the air. During the response, 3 individuals were treated on site for minor injuries, none life-threatening. First aid personnel operated swiftly alongside the police, managing cuts, bruises, and impact injuries from falling or thrown objects. By the end of the night, 40 individuals were formally ejected from the venue. These removals were handled with restraint. No arrests were made at the time. Officers prioritized clearing the arena and restoring order over mass detainment, likely due to the sheer scale and volatility of the incident. However, the investigation didn't end there. Police later confirmed they would be reviewing public footage shared online. Videos posted across social media platforms provided clear angles of participants stacking furniture, throwing chairs, and engaging in dangerous crowd behavior. This post-event digital evidence became essential in identifying those involved and determining further legal consequences. With stability gradually returning, attention shifted to the question, would the match go on? Eventually, after extensive cleanup and crowd control, the final resumed. The atmosphere, however, had drastically changed. Riot police remained stationed visibly throughout the arena. The same fans who had roared and cheered hours earlier now sat restrained and subdued. On the oche, Michael Van Gerwen found himself trailing, first 5-1, then 8-4. Yet in classic form, he rallied. Throw by throw, he clawed back, ultimately winning 9-8 in a last leg decider. Under different circumstances, it would have been hailed as one of the great comebacks. But the tone was different. A fan close to the stage recalled Van Gerwen's face not as victorious, but visibly disturbed. The typical post-match elation was replaced by a cold, uneasy silence. A stadium spokesperson confirmed afterward that Etihad Stadium's future as a darts venue would be reviewed. Organisers praised the resilience of the players, but expressed disappointment in the behaviour that overshadowed the sport. While Melbourne welcomed darts again in 2017 through the World Series, the Victory Room and Etihad Stadium never hosted the event again. Evidently, what happened there shaped how the sport approached its audience. So, from a sold-out exhibition to flying chairs and riot police, it became a moment where fan passion spiraled into mayhem. What would you have done if you were in that crowd? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was this outrageous energy or a disaster long in the making? And if jaw-dropping dart news is your thing, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around for more wild Oki stories.